Hi everybody, welcome back to Brelsford Family Homestead. I'm Darcy. Today we are going to be canning water. I did touch on this on a recent video where I had put some water in with something else that I was already canning, but today I'm going to be just canning water. Last year we had our main water line freeze and I was not prepared. Thankfully, I have a neighbor who helped us out and gave us water for our livestock and for ourselves, but I don't want to run into that situation again. But I also don't really want to just be buying bottled water and keeping it somewhere, you know, for those situations. And I have the jars to do this. And when this is done properly, the water is sterile, so you don't have to worry about, you know, what might be into it. You don't have to worry about plastic leaching in. So whatever your reason may be for wanting shelf-stable food and water that is clean, you could do this. I just want to be prepared just in case our water line were to freeze again or any other number of things with that. This will cost me really nothing but my water bill, because I already have the jars, and today I'm using Tattler lids. You can use, you know, the regular metal lids that you use once and throw away, but because I have Tattler lids today, I am using them. So just follow the directions for whatever lids you might have. For the instructions for canning water, I am using the instructions found on the website that I will link below. It goes to this PDF. It is from the National Center for Home Food Preservation. You can only use potable water, so you're not just gonna go and get, you know, water from a puddle outside or whatever. You know, you need to make sure whatever water you're using is drinkable. I'm using it from my tap. I did let it sit for a little bit, but it has to boil for 5 minutes, and then you're gonna put it in a hot jar and then can it for 10 minutes for the altitude. It doesn't matter what altitude for boiling the water first though, but for canning, let's see, for me it's 10 minutes because I am just under 1,000 feet. For 15 minutes if you're 1,001 to 6,000, and then 20 if you're over 6,000. And I would encourage you to find out what your particular property's elevation is, because when I look at my town's elevation, it says I am over 1,000 feet, but my property is not. Where my house is located is not. So it could affect, you might have to go up because you think that your elevation is lower than it is. So I would encourage you to just Google it and then it will tell you. So I already have my canner heated up here. I am using my pressure canner, but we won't be pressure canning. It does not have the gasket in it, so I'm just using it to water bath. Since I'm using Tattler lids, I do have to boil them, which I have. And then this is my water here that's been sitting here boiling, so we are all ready. And I will bring you down and show you as I do it. All right, my jars are actually in my canner, so they are definitely good and hot. Probably need a hot pad for this. And my tongs. The one good thing is you used to have to boil the metal lids. Some brands you still do, so make sure you check that. You need tongs. The metal lids is nice because you can use the little magnetic upper thinger. So I didn't say, but you're gonna fill it up to 1/2 inch headspace. So just get you one of these to know for sure. I love using this kettle for broth or for water because it holds a whole canner load worth of water or broth in it, and it makes it really easy to pour. I guess I could bring it down so you can see, huh? Okay. Let's see. I got that. 1/2 inch. It is a little bit more challenging to see the water than the other things. Could also be my eyesight. Wearing bifocals now, you know. Okay, that's a little bit high. It feels kind of silly to wipe the rim on this when it's just water, but it's a good habit to continue. Right. Now, Tattler lids, you do have to boil them. It gets this a little bit soft, and you put them on a little bit differently. Got a ring here. Everything says to take your finger and like press hard, and once it starts to move, that's tight enough. For me personally, I have found that I have to do it just a smidge more after that for it to work properly for me. Then we're just gonna put this in the canner. When we bring it back out of the canner, we do let it sit for 3 to 5 minutes, and then we really crank it down. So that's why it's a little different than the metal lids. But it is really nice that you can just reuse them. Eventually, the gaskets give out. I haven't had that happen yet. I did have one that had like some kind of little pinhole in it or something, but that's it so far. I'm gonna go ahead and get the other 5 jars in the canner, and then I'll bring you back. Got the last one to go in. Now you do, let me bring you here. You do want to make sure that you have an inch or 2 of water over the top of your jars and bring it to a rolling boil. Mine's almost back to that. I'm gonna put my lid on, but you can see I've removed the gasket. So I'm not using it to pressure can. So once we get that back up to a rolling boil, we will process it for 10 minutes for my area. Now while that's going, I wanted to share something with you as far as Tattler lids go and labeling them. Because, you know, on the metal lids, you can just write directly on them with whatever you want, put a sticker on them. I used to put stickers on the front of my jars because I made pretty labels and I thought it looked so nice. But unless you get the water dissolvable ones that can be expensive, they can be hard to get off. And even those, I've heard some stories. So, you know, I was having to use like Goo Gone or something every time to get them off. So I finally decided that I wasn't going to do it in the front anymore, even though I loved the way it looked. So I put a printing label. I have a Dymo XL label printer. And so I use that and I make labels. And so when I'm using the metal lids, I just do that. And it's a lot faster for me than writing it on there. So I always use those for that. But for the Tattler lids, I have it written on there with Sharpie. Now I had tried using an erasable or a washable marker from my kids' markers. And yes, you can write on them with that, but it wipes off super easy. And then if it gets smeared or something, you don't know what it is. The dry erase, same situation. So you can, let me grab my little bottle here. You can write on the glass if you don't want to write on the lid. And this is a Sharpie, but I'll show you. Sorry, I was distracted. I see my chickens running, making sure nothing's out there. You can just take some rubbing alcohol and you can wipe that right off. You can do the same on the lid. This is all wet. I need another piece. Now, I have seen some things that say it has to be a higher percentage. I haven't seen that for sale, so I'm not sure. Okay, so dampened with that. Now, I will only write on the smooth part, so depending what type of lids you have, check that. This has the writing, but you can wipe it right off like that. So that's what I have been doing. You can also write with it on Sharpie, and then when you want to erase it, color over it with the dry erase and then wipe it off. I did that and it took forever, way longer than just wiping it with some rubbing alcohol, which most people probably do have at home. So that's what I am doing. You can write it on the glass or this, whichever you find easier. And I would encourage you to label everything you can. I mean, obviously you're like, okay, Captain Obvious, this is water. But, if you are not able to tell somebody what is in the jar, whether you're not around anymore, or maybe you ask somebody to get something for you, or other people in your house are using your food that you're canning too, I'm assuming, have it clearly labeled so other people other than you know what is inside. you know, just not having anything or even initials, it may work until it doesn't. So take the extra couple of minutes and clearly label every jar every time with what's inside and the date, and not just initials, so that other people will know what is in it. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents. So let's see if this is boiling. Yes, it is. Sorry, that was probably really loud. I'm gonna set my timer for 10 minutes. And after 10 minutes, I will turn the heat off, remove the lid, let it sit for 5 minutes, just like other things to can, and then we will pull them out. Wait another 3 to 5 minutes, crank down those lids and let them sit 12 to 24 hours before we test them. Now, for just the sake of this video, I will use one of my already canned ones to show you the way you were supposed to test them. The first time I did it, it was kind of scary. Is you take the ring off and you're supposed to hold it by the lid. This one's sealed. So that is how you test the Tattler lids. Any other brand that you may get, you just read and follow the instructions. They are pretty clear instructions, all the ones that I have looked at. There is a learning curve. I do tend to have more seal failures with the Tattlers than with the metal lids, but they still do work and I still like them. I'll probably still invest in some more. You know, I'm not having trouble finding lids right now, but I think they're good to have on hand, especially, you know, if you're canning something like water and maybe you're not wanting to spend the money on metal one-use lids. So I'll bring you back when this is done. I removed all the jars from the canner and they've been sitting here for 5 minutes, so it's now time to crank them down. Definitely use some pot holders or some washcloths because it'd be hot. Why, how do I know? So you're just gonna go to each one and tighten it all the way down. I try not to move them around too much, but unless I really space these out, I don't have a lot of space. Sometimes I like to put them on this big cutting board so that I can kind of slide it out of the way without disturbing them too much when I'm all done. All right, and I will check those tomorrow and label them. Thanks for coming along on this journey with us while we can some water. I hope you will give it a try. I am going to do some more loads of just water again, but I will put them in when I'm doing regular canning if I have a canner that's not all the way full. I hope you guys are having a great week and we'll see you next time. God bless.